All right, if anybody is just joining the live stream, I have not started yet. I'm going to give a couple more minutes for people to come into the chat. And bear with me, I'm still setting up some stuff too. I got in late before a good reason. I was a site visit for after school program here in Baltimore. So it's a pretty cool experience. But I had such a great time there that I almost forgot about this live stream. So just getting everything set up here. I'll be ready in a moment. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. All right, should be good to go. Check one other thing. Close that window, close that window, close that window, close that window, close that window. uh, all right. So if you're just joining me, welcome. Sorry, starting a little late. I got in late, had to set some stuff up. Um, also had to take care of some things to get this thing going. Um, but I'm welcome. I'm John Williams. I'm the presenter for this evening. This is Infinite Social Solutions, and today's live stream is going to be computer buying tips. So I'm going to give you some pointers and tips on what to look for when you're shopping for a computer. Tell you what looks like a good deal, what isn't a good deal. Tell you what not to buy, just so you're not out there wasting your money buying something that you either are overpaying for or cannot truly afford. Um, and yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So a couple of things before I actually begin the presentation. I'm going to be using Best Buy. I'm no way affiliated with Best Buy. I'm not being sponsored by Best Buy. I used to be an employee, but I'm using Best Buy's website because it's easy for me to maneuver around because I know exactly what's on there. But also I know a lot of people shop at Best Buy, but the things that I do tell you and show you do not just apply to Best Buy's website. They apply across the board to most any website where you could buy a computer, a laptop, desktop, anything of that nature, right? You can apply what I say to any website that you go to, any retailer. It's all the same. Okay. Not gonna be much difference at all. Everybody basically sells the laptops and desktops, save for a few independent companies that make their own computers, like gaming computers and things of that nature. But if you're familiar with Lenovo and Dell and HP and all those other manufacturers, everybody sells those, right? Walmart, Best Buy, Target. So, but what I'm going to be doing is giving you tips on how to identify the best computer for you and tell you why you shouldn't buy certain computers, right? So just go ahead and get started here. Now, normally, computers are broken up into three categories, right? You have your value laptops, your mid-range laptops, and your high-end laptops. Okay, so your value laptops are anything below $300. I'll say even $400, right? Value laptops are your Chromebooks. They are your lower end laptops, right? Value laptops are mainly only for doing basic stuff on the internet, right? So when I mean basic, I mean just checking email, paying your bills. You're not doing anything past that on that laptop. You may be able to get away with streaming, but outside of that, it's just really, really basic computer use. I will even go as far as to say as if you come to the decision where you think you're going to or want to buy a value laptop, don't, because your phone in your pocket is probably going to be more powerful than that $400 laptop, especially if you have something like an iPhone or a Samsung, like a Galaxy, right? How much money did you pay for that, right? Those high-end phones, save for the fact that you can carry it around in your pocket, you can buy a laptop that can do the same or more. So if you're walking around with an iPhone in your pocket and you think you're gonna just go, or you think in your mind you just want to go out here and spend $300 for a value laptop, then you've wasted your money. I'm just gonna say that flat out. You wasted your money. A laptop is gonna be no good to you, and I'm gonna show you here in a moment. Okay. A value laptop that is well known are Chromebooks, right? Chromebooks are very inexpensive, but they aren't very powerful, and I'm going to show you why and what to look for in a Chromebook, right? So Chromebooks are good in certain situations, okay? during the pandemic when, all the schools were closed down and students had to work from home, a lot of students didn't have laptops. Chromebooks were the inexpensive solution for students, especially students who did not have computers at home, to be able to connect to the school, connect with their teachers and their classmates, and do their homework and things of that nature, right? It was great. It was good for what it was being used for. But outside of that, Chromebooks really are not. Well, I'll say the lower end Chromebooks are really not robust. They're really not meant for you to use heavily on a daily basis. They're not durable by any means. You get what you pay for. If you're paying $200-300 for a laptop, best believe you're going to get a cheap laptop. So it's really not going to benefit you for something in the long run. Got it, man? All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're really not. They're good for specific situations. They're not good for long term use. Not for business. Not for doing music, graphics, anything of that nature. Right. What's appealing about them is the price. People like to see expensive things have cheap price tags. However, when you're buying a laptop, just like you buy a car, if you buy a cheap car, you're not getting a great car to begin with, right? Same thing with a laptop. You buy a cheap laptop, you're getting a cheap laptop. You're not saving money in any sense, right? So there are a few things to look out for with these value laptops, right? So on Best Buy's website, they even have a rating for the different types of for their laptops, the highlights of their laptops, right? So they rate the processor, the RAM, and the graphics card, and screen resolution, storage type, screen size, and things of that nature, right? So we're going to go over this as an example, just to show you what you can look for when you're actually shopping for a laptop, right? So the first thing they advertise is this Intel Celeron, right? Intel Celeron is the CPU or the processor. Intel makes a low-end processor, right? Because they know that people can't afford, the high-end stuff. In some cases, those processors alone cost more, or cost 2/3 of the price of a laptop, right? So that this Celeron processor in this laptop probably costs $100, right? And then they use the rest of that to build the casing and things like that, right? Because laptops nowadays are, when you buy a laptop in a store, it's pretty much you're buying it at the store bought it at cost, right? So Best Buy really isn't making much money off a laptop. For example, this $299 laptop, Best Buy probably paid $280 for it, right? They're not making much money off of it because they bought it at cost. Because if they actually had to sell this laptop as a profit, they would actually have to raise the price up, at very least $50 to $100 more than what they paid for, right? However, with that markup, I think, from my experience, the value that's paying too much, right? It costs $280 to make this laptop, and then you go to the store and it's going to cost you $400, right? That doesn't seem fair, right? Especially for something that's not going to last. If you're going to be paying $500 for a low end laptop, you want something that's going to last. This Chromebook isn't going to last long, but let's take a look at the processor. So the processor is a Celeron, right? So it's Intel's low end processor. Best Buy has it rated for great portability, budget friendly, basic internet tasks, right? So outside of checking email, outside of paying your bills, right, you are not going to get much out of this laptop, okay? Like I said, if you have an iPhone or like a Samsung Galaxy phone in your pocket, that phone has more processing power than this laptop, okay? So think about how much money you paid for your phone. Some of us may have gotten it free, or they may have, you're paying monthly fee. You're paying monthly for this phone, but that phone costs and worth more than this laptop at this point right here. As we go over this, right? So right off the bat, I've proven to you that your phone is more powerful than this laptop. So why spend another $200 just to say that you have a laptop to do the same thing on this laptop that you're already doing on your phone, right? You can even, you know, so, but yes, it's a budget-friendly processor, just to keep the cost down. So it's got 4 gigabytes of RAM. So if you're not familiar with RAM, RAM stands for random access memory, right? So the more RAM that you have in your computer, the more tasks you can do at one time. Giving you a real world example, I used to be a photographer, so I had photo editing software that I would run. I would also run Photoshop. I would have my web browser open. I would have a few other things open, right? So the more things that you have open, the more resources they take from the computer. And one of those resources is RAM. Programs need RAM, and they need a certain amount of RAM in order to run. So the more programs that you have open, the more programs that you have accessing the RAM. If you do not have enough RAM to go around, your computer will start to slow down, okay? That's usually one of the biggest culprits that people have computer problems is computer slowing down. It's probably because you got a lot of things open and your computer just doesn't have enough RAM to keep up. So, and the reason why it slows down is because the programs that take the most RAM are taking it away from those other programs that use less RAM, right? So what ends up happening is the program that you're currently using or is running takes priority over everything else. However, the program that you're using at the moment is open, but the other programs are open and running too. So what happens is as you switch back and forth, the RAM, that's being used for, program A has to stop, go to program B, find out how much RAM is needed to run program B while you're using it. And then you may jump from program B to program C. Now, if you're doing that constantly, if you're switching back and forth between programs in a short period of time, what happens is the computer is not fast enough to catch up for when you go from program to program. So what you're ending up doing is you're creating a backlog almost because your computer can't catch up. So by the time it catches up to from program A to program B, what ends up happening is you go from B to C, it's still trying to catch up from that transition from A to B. Okay, if you follow me, so your computer starts to slow down. Now what's happening is the RAM, it doesn't have enough RAM to switch back and forth, right? So now you're just stuck in this endless loop of the computer trying to catch up to what you're doing. That's why RAM is important. All right. Now, the average computer now, the average size for RAM is 4 gigabytes. And that's simply because of math thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail into why it has to be 4 gigabytes, but it has to do with 64-bit processing. Everything has to be in increments of 4. Okay, so you have to have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM to run a 64-bit process. But I'm not going to go into that. That's a little bit more technical, but that's the reason why computers nowadays, the low end ones, they always have 4 gigabytes. If you notice, they don't have 3 gigabytes, they don't have 4.5, they don't have 2.5, they have 4 gigabytes. But there's a reason for that. Okay, more advanced reason for that. So let's look at what 4 gigabytes does for you in this system. Again, Best Buy's website rates it as low. So minimum tasks, web browsing, basic streaming. So if you combine 4 gigabytes of RAM with this Intel Celeron processor, if you notice, everything is basic. Like I said before, this is an inexpensive computer. It doesn't have a lot of processing power. You're only checking your email. You're only doing basic tasks. It can do basic streaming. You're probably going to stream in 720. You're not going to stream in 4K. It's not built for that. All right. So the next thing you would look at is the graphics card. This graphics card, again, this is an expensive computer, so it has a very basic graphics card in it. It has a graphics card that's basically just going to get you by. All right. The graphics card is powerful enough to put an image on a screen. That's it. That's all it's going to do, right? You're not going to be playing Call of Duty or Fortnite on this laptop. you can't put it on there for other reasons, and two, it's not going to work. It's not powerful enough, right? So it says budget friendly, basic gaming, ideal for basic gamers. Okay, so we really got to look at what the definition of a gamer is today as opposed to 10, 15 years ago. Okay, so believe it or not, if you play Candy Crush on your phone, you are, by definition, by the modern definition of gamer, you are a gamer. Okay, if you play solitaire on your phone, by the present day definition of gamer, you are a gamer. Okay, so when this says basic gaming, this isn't talking about Roblox. This isn't talking about Fortnite. This is talking about someone who plays solitaire, Scrabble, Uno online. That is basic gaming by present day standards. Okay, so don't let that fool you. Don't walk into a store, for your child, like I've seen a lot of parents do, and they see this $200 laptop, and they expect their child is going to be able to play Call of Duty on his laptop, and they get home and they're sorely disappointed, right? It's because basic gaming, like I said, by definition, if you play a game on your phone, no matter how long you play that game for, it could be Sudoku. If you play Sudoku on your phone, you are considered a gamer by modern day definition. Okay, so don't let that fool you, right? So right here, just looking at three things, looking at the processor, the RAM, the graphics card. This computer is really, like I said before, really for really basic things, right? So next, when you go to, looking at screen resolution, it, for a laptop like this, it really doesn't matter whether it's HD or not. That's just the standard technology now. So you're gonna get an HD screen on most lower end laptops because the technology now is cheap and it's the standard. So it's more or less on a laptop like this. They highlight that it has a high resolution screen because it appeals to the average consumer. Like, oh, and it has an HD screen, and like that matters to people, right? But you got to take into account that's pretty standard now, so it really shouldn't matter, unless you're looking for specifically something to watch movies in full HD or 4K. But if you are looking for something like that, you're not buying a Chromebook. Okay, you're not buying quote unquote a value laptop. Like, you just don't do it, right? So it says great for web, email, basic tasks. Right, it's a computer. It's gonna have to be able to do the basic stuff. So but because quite frankly, that's here because they don't have anything else to tell you about this laptop. Like, so far, everything that I've said about the laptop prior to us looking to this has held true. Like, this is just a basic laptop. Okay, but if you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat during this live presentation. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer as many as I can as we go along. All right, cool. All right, so keeping on, moving on. So we've gone over processor, RAM, graphics card, screen resolution, storage type. Okay, so this uses eMMC, which is a type of storage. Not going to go into too much detail, but it's a type of storage that it's small. It's low capacity, low power. It's good for putting in small devices like this laptop here. So it's not your traditional hard drive. Actually doesn't have any moving parts. But it is what's considered low end memory. So it's really not. The storage capacity is not going to be high at all. Not by today's standards. Storage capacity is not going to be high. That's just to keep the price down because this is a value laptop. So they're trying to keep everything under a certain value. And it's not like your traditional hard drive that has moving parts. Again, it doesn't have any moving parts. It's basically just a memory chip. Not going to go too much detail. That's for another presentation. That's for when we take a deeper dive into learning parts of the computer and stuff like that. But just think of it as just a low end, low capacity hard drive. And when I say low capacity, I mean low capacity by today's standards, because you can get 16 terabyte hard drives now. So, but you're not going to find a eMMC hard drive over 128 gigabytes. I think that's the largest I've seen. Once you get to that storage size, then the price kind of goes up. This specific laptop, 64 gigabytes is the total capacity. Okay, so you're not going to be storing a lot of files on this laptop. It's going to fill up quick. Now, one of the biggest problems I have seen with these laptops is that people just simply are not aware of how incapable these value laptops are. Okay, I've seen on numerous occasions where people don't realize how limited storage capacity how much limited storage capacity they have. So over time, they end up filling up their hard drive. Okay, now it doesn't matter what size hard drive you have. If you have, like on here on the screen, if you have a 64 gigabyte, if you have a 1 terabyte hard drive, okay, what I'm about to say does not matter about the size of the hard drive. Okay, so but it applies to any size hard drive. If you fill your hard drive up, okay, there is a pretty good chance that you will not be able to do anything on that hard drive. And the reason for that is when it comes to programs, they need basically the hard drive needs an X amount of space in order to actually operate and function. Okay. Once you filled up your hard drive to the point where that space is no longer available for the hard drive to function, what's going to happen is your computer is not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to open programs. You're not going to be able to close programs. You're not going to be able to delete files and programs because your hard drive does not have enough space in order to run and execute those commands. Okay, I've seen plenty of times where people have brought their Chromebooks in, or just their HP laptop that has low capacity storage, like 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes. They filled it up fast, right, with all their files and things like that, and they can't do anything with it, and that's why. So if you do have a value laptop on the lower end, just be sure to not fill it up with a bunch of junk. Okay, you should be storing your files on a hard drive or in the cloud anyway. You should not be keeping all of those files on your computer. All right, but in this case, these lower end laptops, the problem is like especially with the Windows versions of these Chromebooks, because on the Windows you can actually install programs, but what ends up happening is that the computer at that point becomes useless. You filled it up; it can't do anything. Your computer is—I wouldn't say it's a brick. I mean, there are solutions to solving your problem. However, they aren't inexpensive solutions. They could actually cost you a great deal of money, and it could get up to the point where it may cost you just as much as you paid for the laptop in order to get your information and get that laptop working again. What I found the easiest thing, a lot of people, and you can't avoid it, is you have to like factory reset your laptop and erase the whole thing, and it'll work just fine. But once you fill up that hard drive, there's really not much that can be done at that point. Well, that's not you don't have too many inexpensive options at that point. You're either going to wipe it and lose everything, or you can spend a couple $100s for to get your data transferred and backed up. I mean, it's possible, but it's going to cost you some money. But capacity again is low compared to today's standards. A lot of laptops are now coming with 1 terabyte hard drives, which is a lot of space for most people. So um, we are 35 minutes in. I might have to make this a two-parter. Woohoo! All right. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will try to answer them as soon as I can. All right. Moving on. Where's my screen at? All right. So the other highlights, we're at screen size here. So screen size, that's more or less a personal preference. Screen sizes, no matter the value of the laptop, you can buy an expensive laptop with a small screen. You can buy a cheap laptop with a large screen, and vice versa. Like, screen size is a personal preference, so it's really not that. It's important to the individual, but to the performance of the computer, it's not going to matter much. I had a 17-inch Chromebook a few years ago, paid $300 for it. Same thing, I had a 13-inch Chromebook, paid $300 for. Two different sizes, but they were basically the same laptop as far as specification wise, things of that nature too. So, but again, if you're shopping for a laptop, just remember to if you're on Best Buy's website, and other websites have this too, they do have these charts that basically tell you a little bit about each of the major components of the laptop, the processor, the RAM, graphics card, and things like that, just to give you an idea of what the capabilities of that laptop are, so you can make a more informed decision when purchasing a laptop. See too often, again, I'll go over this again, do not always go by price when purchasing a laptop, right? First thing you want to do is figure out what your needs are as far as a laptop. Not your wants, but your needs, okay? Your needs are going to outweigh the wants, okay? Because I will tell you this, a lot of the times people aren't willing to pay for their wants, right? Like, I want a fast processor. I want, I want 64 gigs of RAM. I want a 2 terabyte hard drive. Well, that want off the bat, those two things I just mentioned are expensive. Okay. However, people always say, "Well, I need this for work." Well, what work do you do? Why is this laptop going to be important for work? Okay. When you go out shopping and you're talking to the rep that's in the computer department, or the sales associate that's in the computer department, and I've been that guy. People always come up to us and they're like, "I need a computer for work." Okay, so usually our follow-up question is, "Well, what do you do?" Right? And a lot of times we get answers from people, and those answers, equate to, "Well, you really don't do much at work, right? You just need a computer, right?" Or you don't really need a computer, you want a computer, right? And a lot of times people, again, it's about what you need. I'm not saying you can't have what you want, but a lot of the times the want is way more expensive than people are willing to pay. So when they can't get what they want, now they want to leave with something, and that something usually is the laptop they don't need. You follow? Okay. A lot of times customers, when they can't get what they want, they usually leave with the laptop they don't need. And this usually ends up being these value laptops. And then they're disappointed when they get home because it doesn't do what they need it to do. Because they wanted to save a couple $100 when they realize that their wants are bigger than their pockets. But but like I said, just be mindful and do your research when looking for a laptop. So I'm actually going to end this here because I underestimated. I think I finished in an hour the last time. But I'm going to turn this into a two-parter. So I'll let you know when that second part comes because in my mind, everything I plan on doing is probably going to end up being a couple of hours. Okay. So I'm going to end the live stream here for this. I will post the dates on the next live streams. And I'm going to continue going over value laptops and then hopefully be able to get into like the mid range and the high end laptops and gaming laptops and things of that nature. But however, if you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I will get back to you. And